What if I told you there was once an empire as powerful as ancient Egypt? A civilization of iron warriors and feared diplomats that built colossal cities, signed the world's first peace treaty, and then vanished from the face of the earth so completely that for 3,000 years the world believed it was nothing more than a myth? For centuries, historians and theologians found fleeting references to them in the Bible, a mysterious and powerful people called the Hittites. But there were no ruins, no artifacts, no proof. Academics dismissed them as fiction, a footnote in a religious text. But they were wrong. The Hittites were real, and their disappearance wasn't an act of God or a mythical fade into legend. It was a terrifyingly sudden collapse, a Bronze Age apocalypse that wiped their civilization off the map so brutally that memory of them was erased from human history. This is the story of the Ghost Empire that haunted the ancient world, a historical detective story that will take us from dusty biblical texts to the explosive discovery of a lost capital city, and finally to the chilling truth of what happens when a superpower simply disappears. If you're ready to uncover a lost world that history forgot, you know what to do. The truth is waiting. 1. The ghost in the texts. For thousands of years, the only evidence for the Hittites came from one source, the Old Testament. They were described as a powerful people, a nation of warriors that Abraham negotiated with and King Solomon conscripted. But to the modern historian, this was frustratingly vague. It was like finding a reference to the city of Atlantis in a single old book. Imagine you're an archaeologist in the 19th century. You can go to Egypt and see the pyramids. You can go to Mesopotamia and see the ruins of Babylon. But when you asked, where are the Hittite ruins? The answer was silence, nothing. It was a historical black hole. Scholars began to openly mock the idea. They claimed the Bible had to be wrong, that the Hittites were probably just a small, insignificant tribe that had been exaggerated into a mighty empire. The silence of the ground was deafening proof. How could an empire that supposedly rivaled Egypt leave behind not a single stone? But then, a strange clue surfaced. In Egypt, archaeologists studying the Temple of Karnak found enormous hieroglyphic inscriptions detailing the legendary Battle of Kadesh. It described a cataclysmic clash between the Egyptian pharaoh Rameses II and the armies of a powerful enemy king. That enemy? The king of the Hittites. The inscriptions spoke of them not as a small tribe, but as a terrifying military equal. Suddenly, the mystery deepened. Egypt, one of the greatest powers of the ancient world, was admitting to fighting a colossal war against a ghost. It was the first clue that something was terribly wrong with the history books. The Hittites weren't a myth, they were a threat. 2. The city in the dust. The hunt was on. If the Hittites were real, they had to have a capital, a home. In 1834, a French explorer named Charles Texier was traveling through central Turkey when he stumbled upon the ruins of an ancient city unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a fortress of staggering scale, massive stone walls pierced by gates guarded by carved sphinxes and ferocious lion sculptures. He saw the foundations of huge temples in a royal citadel that overlooked the entire plain. This was no tribal village. This was the heart of an empire. He had accidentally found Hattusa, the lost capital of the Hittites. But the real treasure wasn't the stone, it was the mud. In the ruins of the royal palace, archaeologists unearthed a library, not of scrolls or papyrus, but of over 30,000 clay tablets, baked hard by the fire that had destroyed the city millennia ago. They were covered in a mysterious, unknown language. For years, scholars were stumped. The code remained unbroken, until a Czech linguist named Bedřich Hrosný, working in the middle of World War I, stared at a single, repeated line on one of the tablets. Nu, Ninda an Ezateni, Waterma Ekuteni. He knew from other Mesopotamian languages that Ninda was the symbol for bread. He made a wild guess. What if the language was a primitive form of an Indo-European language, related to German or Latin? He substituted words. Watar. Could it be water? Suddenly, the sentence snapped into focus. Now you will eat bread and you will drink water. He had done it. He had cracked the Hittite language. The voices of the Ghost Empire could finally speak, and what they revealed was breathtaking. 3. The Apocalypse. The tablets told the story of an empire that dominated the ancient world for 500 years. They were pioneers of iron, forging weapons that shattered the bronze swords of their enemies. They were master diplomats who corresponded with kings from Greece to Babylon. They even signed the